Fight scenes. Alright, here's basically what I've been doing. Jim Lee was on a podcast, on Kevin Smith's podcast. It's Fat Man on Batman. And I think there's one comment he made, which is he got sick of drawing Wolverine. Not sick of drawing Wolverine, but he stopped having the passion, I guess, to draw Wolverine because he couldn't figure out like any more poses to put Wolverine in. And so I was just thinking, like in MMA, it's like you watch a fight, and it's like some guy throws the same like finishing move, like it's still a good move. Like you're not watching that going like, oh, he did that with the last guy. It's like, of course, the same angle of punch is going to be used more than once. You know, you don't have to come up with something new every time. So then I just started dissecting my own work, and I was like, well, what is a pose? You know, like if you alter a pose, like maybe you should just chop off the limbs and like just capture the key pose there. And so I just made a list of like all the poses that I've done, and I just chopped the limbs off, and then I go to like more favorite other artists, and then I like chop the limbs off of that, and you know, make a little pose file like that. Maybe I'll get to the fighting. I will. And so then I did layouts. I'm doing the same thing, just ripping it, breaking it down. It's like, okay, what do my panel layouts consist of? Okay, and it's like, well, this is kind of like the basics. And then I was like, okay, what's overhead shots? I drew every overhead shot that I drew. And then I just go into the Sea of Madness, and I start doing kinetic shots. Like, what are these? What makes a shot look dynamic? And then I was like, okay, well, let me draw every person that got knocked KO'd in a fight, right? So use that as reference. And then walking, okay, do that. Keep breaking it down. Flying, try to break that stuff down. And then like the angle of the fist, it's like, well, when somebody does a punch, like what's the alterations of the guy that's punching in the background? And it's like, then I get to the point where it's like, okay, let me draw every tall, skinny panel that I've ever drawn. And it's like, okay, comic strip panels, cars, and it's like, okay, tall and skinny. Alright, good enough tall and skinny. Okay, what about just standing? Alright, what about pointing a gun? What about, holding a fist out there? And then, four shortened fist. And just keep going down line. Okay, I did tall and skinny. Let me do every horizontal panel that I've ever drawn, or convert it to horizontal, and then see how that fits. Anyway, I'm just going down to areas of madness. I just skipped the page there. And it's like, okay, let me just focus on buildings. You know, you watch a movie, if that's good, then let me draw every masked character, see if I can get better at that. Anyway, so that's what I've been doing with my work. I don't know if it's progressed me anywhere, but it's something fun to do, to just break down comics. And then so I drew this thing a while back. It's on my DeviantArt page somewhere. But I was just kind of getting in the groove of figuring out how to do like a punch shot. And so it's like you have a guy, right, and he's already threw the punch, and then sometimes you have like the action special effect look, and then sometimes the special effect sound effect, and you get the character flying, right? Same thing here, the character there with the punch fully extended, and this guy's reacting to the punch. You get the punch sound effect, flop, right? And then this is like the Liefeld. He's a pro at like having the guy, when he goes in for the punch, he's like flying like downward onto the screen, you know. So like Wolverine doesn't have powers of flight until what Rob Liefeld draws him punching, and then which is awesome. I love Rob Liefeld's fight shots. I got the action thing flying in the background. same thing. A lot of times I've noticed if there's not a guy in the background, the character in the foreground, a lot of times it'll be the character in the foreground punching, and then the background guy's like flying, right? But I noticed this a lot, and this a lot. Sometimes that, and then sometimes the side shot, which is funny because I was just trying to do variations, and it's like, oh no, I kind of got like 3 like major shots there. Let me see if I can go through some comics and not get kicked out for this stuff. This is one of the best comics when it comes to fight scene stuff that I prefer, that I enjoy. Yeah, Savage Dragon. So it's like, see if I can find some of these shots in here. And then a lot of times what you can do is like you don't even think about like how long these fight scenes are. So a lot of times it's like between 4 and 8 pages, and so that's kind of cool to do that sort of count. And so a lot of times they're jumping into the action, right? And so then there's like kind of like the side punch, and then when you know, a guy in the background throws the punch, the guy in the foreground is flying out, which is the reason why this shot is pretty used a lot, is because it looks cool to have like the characters flying at you, you know? And so you'll see that pattern a lot. And so like this is only like a 3-page fight scene. You got this guy set up, you know, you got all of a sudden the hand gets crushed, almost like a quick montage, whatever, punches, and then he like talks to him a little bit, and then that's it. That's all. First one's like 2 pages, and then it cuts to like, oh, you'll never get away with that, boom. Try to go through this faster. He's getting flying into the action, right? Almost like a side punch, almost like a Street Fighter style. And then you got another side shot there, another side shot there. Cuts into some close-ups there, and then bam, you got a guy in the background, guy flying at you, right? And you got the special sound effect there. No impact. I mean, I guess that sound effect is impact. So even this scene right here, it's like, okay, you got 1 page in, about to get in the action, right? 2, 3, double page spread, 4, 5, and that's the KO shot right there, and it's like, yeah, now he's down, and then he's like, you know, wrap it up, you know? So it's like 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, you know, this is a little 6-pager, you know? And so, once again, background, guy flying at you, you know? Guy in the background, guy flying at you. This, anyway, I shouldn't go through the whole comic, but let's go through another one instead. But he uses a lot. It's a good technique for the KO shot. Liefeld's freaking man. Another one of my favorite comics ever. There's Blood Strike File. It's got Liefeld, peak Liefeld. And you got Jay Lee, peak Jay Lee too. And just back in that style. And jumping into action. And then you got, once again, he's falling, punching, right? And then you got a guy in the background, guy flying at you, right? And he's in the background throwing shields at you, so that's kind of cool. Guy in the background hits the guy's flying at you, you know? And the side shot there. Getting more of that. For grins and giggles, I like to try to attempt to ink some of this stuff, and wow, like I'm in hour 10 and I haven't even done like 60% of it. There's so many of these lines that are so, you know, good up on you, Danny Mickey. Good up on you, Scott Williams and Alex Gardner. Should have got some Gen 13 here. Alright, Wildcats. Killer Instinct, Cyberforce crossover, right? So you got character in the background shooting a guy. And a lot of times you notice this, if they're going to impale somebody, you're going to have the guy in the foreground, get impaled that way. Just because, I don't know, if it's the same pattern, and like you can see it going through them with it, like right there, The other good examples of that shot I was referring to, the KO flying at you, body flying at you shot, is got that one. Hit. He's in the background, smacks. She's flying at you. At the side, little Street Fighter shot. And I'm all over the place. Hopefully I can edit this out where it sounds smoother than it is. Oh, character's getting impaled. Him in the background, and they show the gore in the foreground. Grapple. Anyway, now let's see here. Let me find that pattern here. It makes sense. It's not like I'm ripping on these guys for doing it. It's like an awesome technique that they don't really put it in the how to draw books, How to draw comics. They're not going to show you this stuff. They should though, but like you break it down. Character in the background, it's Batman. Batman's flying at you, Little side Street Fighter shot. And then you cut in some close. It's his power glove. Cuts into him punching close there. And then, another side Street Fighter angle there. And then what is Batman in the background? And what does he throw the head right at you? Got that dynamic going on. Yeah, this is peak with Farland and Frank Miller. So much action in this. It's incredible. I guess Batman's kind of in the foreground, throwing Spawn in the background. But some side fights. Let's see. It's almost Walt Simonson stuff going on there. Now you got Spawn in the background. Was he impale somebody with the blast? So then you show the guy in the robot in the foreground getting impaled. That's the other pattern. And nice side fights, side tackle. And you got Batman in the background punching, or Spawn in the background, punch impact. Batman's flying at you, and you get sound effect. And these are top comics. Like if you haven't owned these already, sadly you can find these in a lot of bargain bins, which is just insane to me, because like this is like peak level action in my book. And you got another one, Savage Dragon versus Megaton Man. It's also on the top of my list. What I want to say about this one is you get down to the action, and there's a couple things that Eric Larson does which I really enjoy. You got the accidental hit, alright. He's winding up, old side Street Fighter, Speedline kick, Akira. Like, it's almost like, I don't know what came before the Akira movie where he kicks the guy off the bike, but I'd see that shot a lot in comics too, where it's like almost like a similar to guy in the foreground punches him in the background, right? With the double punch there. And so they're on the streets here, right? He's in the background punching, someone flying out there, lands, angry, and then he gets back up to get back up shot. Now he goes back into action, right? It's the classic back in action pose. Old tackle there, and then they break through a wall. And so it's like I like it when the fight breaks into another location, you know. So then once again, he's in the foreground, hitting him in the background, which is kind of cool because the sound effect wall that he's doing, and this is classic Erik Larsen, where the guy he gets hit so hard that there's just another panel of him just flying across the panel, you know, and just jumping back into action. And this is cool because Don Simpson drew everything in his universe, and then Erik Larsen drew everything in his universe, and this is like such a cool project of them like both teaming up on a book together, and like it's flawless, the fight. I wish that they did more of this stuff because this is incredible. Well, maybe it's lightning and balls, maybe they couldn't like surpass this, but so then he kicks him into another location. I guess he goes to a mall to find him. Anyway, incredible action coming at you, and he's in the foreground hitting him in the background. So a lot of that opposite of what I was saying before, which is kind of cool. Anyway, I think Superman even has a little bit of that stuff too. The Death of Superman, a lot of action, fighting in this one. Let's see if I can find any of those patterns I was talking about. Superman in the background, punching him in the foreground, right? Yeah, he's almost Erik Larsen-ish, where you just see him flying off from wherever the impact was, you know, coming straight at you. And then, she's in the background, punches, kapow. And you got him flying in the foreground, yeah. Anyway, here's what you shouldn't do, though. Because what's cool about all of this stuff is there's still a little bit of, like, talking going on. You know, there's still thoughts and everything breaking the action up. So, here's the problem I came across. What I've noticed is it's like years old at this point, even though it felt like it was new like a couple months ago. Erik Larsen did a Spawn comic, and for some odd reason, like, there's nothing breaking up the action. So once you get to like page 4, there's like no dialogue at all, which is cool. There's action and everything, but like the dialogue really would break it up, and like this seems like an unfinished comic. Like there's nothing like slowing down the action in between, so it's like really hard to like dissect and like take in as a story, you know, because a lot of these elements don't really tie together too well. It's like, okay, he's throwing this and it hits this guy, but then all of a sudden this guy's around, and I guess he's shooting at somebody. I guess it's this guy, and so then this guy's all of a sudden out of nowhere, and I don't know why that's there, because then this guy's hitting him, and it's like, well, what happened to this guy? Why is he there? I don't know, because this other thing's hitting him. I guess this creature's hitting him, and it's like now all these other creatures, like, kind of hard to tie it together, you know. So it's like you gotta break it up somehow, or you have to at least make the montages together. And I know that it's very hypocritical for me to criticize like Erik Larsen, because like he's like a bajillion times better than me. He's using techniques that I'm barely breaking down now, you know. But it's like you gotta break up the action, either have it tie together in a more cohesive way, either by location based, like maybe he gets hit, you know, maybe he flies over to this other location, or like it's just so much montage. I know it's supposed to be montage, like him just fighting like 1,000 characters or whatever, but like it's such a trudge to read through these pages because it's like if it's all montage like and no like sequences connecting to each other, it's like it's just so hard to read that without any like breakdowns or anything, and it's like such a waste because there's all this action and like if you can't really tell what's going on and it's just montage, well, this is waste. Like you could have just did it in one page, like, you know, or 4 pages. But I get it. It's just like, oh, action paced, we're gonna like fly through the issue, fights 1,000 guys, so that'll be awesome, right? Yeah, if it makes sense. But like there's nothing like, that's the cool thing about comics, is it would break it down and give you like a moment of breath. But you know, so this was very like empty feeling, which is sad because it's supposed to be action packed. So it's very important to think about like how to use, because I wish I knew I think Rob Liefeld called it being a wordsmith, to do all the dialogue in between, you know. But you know, there's a bunch of comics, there's a bunch of information for you. You know, definitely go through the dollar bins and check all the stuff out. Like Greg Capullo, yeah, these are all like my favorite like action comics that I could just like break down over and over again. Yeah, so maybe it helps. Maybe I'm just rambling. Anyway, here's another thing for you guys. So yeah.